Why do you think the Bible is the world's number one best-selling book? Is the one thing that AI will never be able to do. Instead of manipulation, why not have encouragement and
Yeah.
something that speaks to the soul?
Attention marketers and entrepreneurs. This is Valuetising, the place where we talk about scaling brands worth promoting. If you're a mission-driven entrepreneur obsessed with creating, scaling, and exiting multi-million-dollar brands, this is for you. My name is Santiago Phoenix and I am a business growth consultant, online marketer, and investor. I have helped more than 107 and 8-figure founders increase profits, claim their time back, and transform the world. Now it's your turn. Welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to Valuetising. My guest today is Rich Oka, a recruiting researcher, staffing pro, and direct response marketing specialist. Rich is amazing at lead generation, email funnels, and creating sales pages that instantly grab your attention. Rich, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. We finally meet. So my first name's Rich, last name's Oka. So my father's from Japan, and my mother's actually European French, but I was born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota. And yeah, so I'm kind of like doing my introduction here, but it's interesting, like in the copywriting world, like you find that there are two different types of people that get into copywriting, those that come from the business side and those that come from the writing side. Like they're
Yeah.
really into like literature, they're really into books, they're really into like writing. And that was me.
All right.
Like ever since I was a young child, I was like a super book nerd. And actually, when I was in grade school, I won the library award twice. And how
Wow.
you win that award is it's like the kid who checks out the most books. Like they have a record of how many books you checked out. But here's the thing, I actually read the books that I checked out. Like other kids might have just like checked out the books and like never did anything with them, but I actually like read the book. So I've always been I've always loved writing. I've always loved reading books, and that passion continues till this day. And when I discovered copywriting, like what? I can actually get paid to like use my creative imagination
Yeah.
and create like email sales funnels. And I love sales pages, right? Because it's like you can just like you can go wild, with your imagination. I mean, of course, there's a structure that you have to adhere to. So, yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, um, I'm an A-lister trained copywriter. By no means I'm not an A-lister myself, but I'd say my biggest so far claim to fame is I was managing the English Facebook page for Japan's number one pop star.
Wow.
Her name was Namie Amuro. She's not so well known in the West, but you ask any Japanese person who she is. So I'll say the name again, Namie Amuro. Like everybody knows her. So I handled her English Facebook page for 2 years until she retired, and she had a lot of promotions, like with other companies, like promotions with Kirin beer, with contact lens companies. So there was a lot of advertising work for her. And I've also like currently right now, as it says on my profile, I write copy for the recruiting industry. I'm a direct response marketer for the recruiting industry, and I also right now also write copy for coaches, mindset coaches, business growth coaches, and a lot of coaches in the health and wellness space as well. So, kind of in a nutshell, that's my introduction. So,
Amazing. How did you landed that work with Popstar? I'm curious.
yeah, so that's a great so this all goes to the power of connections and networking, and which is also another reason why I agreed to do this podcast with you, right? So beginner copywriters out there, take hint. If you get invited to a podcast, accept it. You never know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, I had a good friend who was an entertainment lawyer, and he was actually working for another famous Japanese musician who also had his own company. And yeah, so we were good friends, and he introduced me to that. I never got to meet her in person, but he got me the gig, and yeah, and the rest is history, as they say. So
That's
like
so
it's
cool.
great when you're working
I
for
love
somebody
it.
famous. Yeah, because you write something and the next day instantly 2 million people or 3 million people will see that piece of copy like instantly. So it's like instant traffic, right? Even
Same.
if the copy isn't like super good, but anyway.
Have you ever had your copy being published outside of the internet, like on a billboard or something like that?
Well, I mean with her, right? I mean, the copy that I wrote for her is just broadcast everywhere. Uh
Wow.
because like she's so I mean like I'm literally not joking. You should look her up. Uh, like Japan's 30 million copies of her albums have sold in Japan alone. And of course, she's famous throughout Asia.
That's
But
insane.
outside of her, yeah, I mean, no, basically just sticking to the sales funnels and things that I write for, for my coaching clients at the recruiting company. Uh, but again, as I mentioned, I came into copywriting as a professional writer. So I was actually working for Tokyo Electric Power Company as an English like a corporate writer for them.
Okay.
But that wasn't copywriting. But TEPCO, right?
Yeah, yeah. So was it more, what was it? Content writing?
Press releases, editing the president's speeches, doing a lot of proofreading, English proofreading, like the stuff that the Japanese executives would write. I would edit that, and of course that would go out. But nowadays, like TEPCO is kind of viewed as that evil nuclear power company, because of the accident in Fukushima.
Oh God. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, so I was in their international affairs department for about 5 years, handling their English press releases and stuff. And also my voice is also on some of the YouTube videos that went on as well. So
You're everywhere, basically. But
I was the English face of that company, yeah, or the English voice, I should say.
all right, interesting. But like, how is the marketing culture in Japan? And do you guys write copy in like kanjis and like the traditional
Okay,
Japanese
so
language?
here's the thing. It's interesting that you asked me that question because the majority of, first of all, Japanese is overwhelmingly my second language. So like I can speak it and I can read it, but it's not super fluent. So I don't write copy in Japanese.
Okay.
And most of my clients right now and in the past have been US based.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have toyed with the idea of approaching Japanese companies that want to get into the English speaking market.
Hmm.
Um, but I haven't really fully implemented that idea yet, simply because I've just been so busy writing for the American, like writing for the US market. And English is my first language, so that just plays to my natural strengths and abilities. So
All right.
I feel like I want
And
to ask you questions too. Anyway, I feel like I'm being interviewed here. Anyway, yeah.
yeah, thanks. So, but how is the like the marketing culture there? Because like I'm not from the United States. I'm from Colombia in South America.
Okay.
So, but I also work uh, like 90, yeah, 100% of my work is in the United States. Um, but in Japan, how is it? Is it because all right, and I live in Europe. In Europe, people maybe it's less salesy, like promotions and all this stuff is not as hard as in the United States. How is it in Japan?
That's a really good question. I would actually say that it's good question, but it's also kind of a difficult question to answer in the sense that culturally speaking, Japan is more reserved.
Yeah.
But and this is actually something that I kind of learned from John Carlton, where basically people are people, and the type of emotional copy that would move people in the United States, I find that the same principles
Mm,
works just as well in Japan. And I'm working in the recruiting industry here
yeah,
in Japan. And the copy that I write for the recruiting industry, it's in English, and it's pretty hardcore. I mean, it's like this is your big chance to fire your boss and become a global strategic leader at a company that earned close to $4.2 billion last year. Do you want to spend the rest of your life, you know, like working at a domestic company where you have to wait for your boss to die before you can be? I mean, I find
that's
like
crazy. Yeah,
yeah, I find like the same principles. They're just as effective in driving conversions. And I've been pretty successful in the recruiting industry. Multiple 10K months. I mean, it's commission based, right? But just through commission alone, like multiple 10K months, a couple of times a year. So I find that everything that I've learned, the fundamentals that I learned, I can apply it just as effectively in the Japanese market. So
that's so interesting. So in the recruiting world, do you only write copy, or do you also like find the leads and set up the automations, or how does it work?
so I'm responsible for lead generation and the copy. So yeah, I'm also responsible for creating what we call a project of candidates. Um, I guess how would I say this in our world? I'm also responsible for creating a list of leads,
Yeah,
so to speak. Yeah. And yeah, so I create the list of leads, and then I create the marketing message that we will send to the list of leads. And then I pull them in, and once they respond positively, I set up a phone appointment with our consultants, and then they take it from there. So
mm,
we actually just had so we also use LinkedIn ads as well, kind of similar to Facebook ads, but we use LinkedIn ads, and we just signed I think it was like a $25,000 commission deal just last week. So
it's insane. So this,
so that
yeah,
was nice.
it's like
Yeah,
for executives.
yeah. So recruiting is definitely super high ticket. So the things that are you HIC too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm HIC, or sorry, are you HTC too? Is what I
Oh
meant.
yes, I am too.
Yeah, so I'm HTC and HIC as well. And I find that the skills that I learned in both of those programs are super directly applicable to the recruiting world. Like super, yeah, like super helpful for what I do in recruiting.
Wow. Because I recently heard on a podcast, I don't know if you follow Alex or Moxie.
I know his book. He's got the offer book, right? I haven't read it yet. It's like a book that's on my list to read.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
good one. It's a very good one. But he talks how one of the best things that they have done is to implement sales funnels, but for getting employees. But it was literally the only time that I've heard that. But it seems like that's exactly what you're doing.
yeah. Oh, also, another thing I forgot to mention is another one of my passions is the area of biblical studies.
All right.
And I actually have a blog where I literally teach the content of the Bible, starting from Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, And I've been doing that consistently every day for about 7 years. And I'd say every month I get between 15 to 30,000 hits. So
Is
I
it
need
is
to,
it a blog?
it's a blog. Yeah, it's a blog. Um, if you're interested, I can send you the link later. But that's another one of my passions. And I'm always like thinking like, if I ever find a good direct response marketing company in that niche, in the kind of biblical studies, I'm on a couple of mailing lists of folks I'm thinking of approaching,
Yeah,
but that would be an area that would really combine my passion for marketing and Bible studies like together. And I think I could really explode in that area as well. So just throwing that out there.
sure.
So
And you also have traffic already, so you could
oh
partner
yeah.
with
So I got
with
Google ads up on that.
coaches.
So about $300. About 300. Yeah, I know it's not life-changing money, but $300 a month.
Yeah,
Google AdSense sends me cash for the traffic for that site. So it's about 15 to 30,000 hits a month right now. So yeah, so when I started out, um, I started out with another group of copywriters, and I noticed that over the years, because let's face it, to be a really good anybody, I think anybody can be like a mediocre copywriter, you know, like basic formulas, like do basic copywriting.
yeah,
But to be a really good copywriter, it's not easy. It takes a lot of hard work. And I've noticed that over the years, um, a lot of like my peers, because becoming like really world class at copywriting, because it's so tough, I noticed that a lot of them will kind of get sidetracked, Oh, I'm going to go into email list management, or I'm gonna become a marketing consultant. They kind of like let um get I don't well, yeah, they kind of like get distracted and they'll like
yeah.
veer off into other areas. I guess it's a form of shiny object syndrome, maybe not. But I find if you do that, you might, and the danger of that is you might end up becoming kind of like so at many different things, you know? Whereas I've already made a decision. Um, and again, I'm a writer at heart, right?
Yeah. Me
My
too,
foundation.
actually. So,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
awesome. I feel like high-fiving you on the
yeah,
virtual screen there. But I'm a writer at heart, and I've already made a decision to go all in on copywriting, like become world class. And although I can't say 100% for sure, intuitively, I feel like in the long run, a couple months, even a year from now, because I've been doing it for a couple years, it's going to pay off big time. And also, this kind of leads me to my thoughts on AI.
yes,
Um,
please share those because that's
is it
one of
okay?
the
Yeah.
things that
Okay.
really worried me. Not so much right now, but like about 2 months ago, it
Okay.
worried
So,
me and it made me like, all right, I need second plan.
okay. So I'll share my
Love it.
thoughts, and I've also gotten this information from other like podcasts and stuff that I've listened to. But the thing that I'm going to be specializing in is the one thing that AI will never be able to do. And that's personality driven copywriting over the long term. Okay. Now let me share this story. I had this awesome story to demonstrate why I think I'm correct. Okay.
Yeah.
In Japan, we have these criminal scammers. Okay. Criminals, these young punks, they will call up old people, like senior people, like over the age of 70 or 75, and they'll pretend that they're like they're their sons or daughters and literally scam them into depositing huge amounts of money into their bank accounts.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. First of all, what I find amazing is mutually they're both strangers, right? Right? It's not a real grandmother. All right, I'm sorry, I said son. I meant grandson,
Yeah.
granddaughter. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. It only works. It only works because it's a one-time transaction, so to speak, right? It's just a one-time phone call. Oh yeah, I'm in trouble. Like I had this emergency. Can you please deposit $3,000 into my account, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Imagine if that same scammer tried to do that scam with the same grandmother or the same grandfather over a longer period of time, right? Like monthly or weekly. It wouldn't work. Eventually, the person, the mother or the grandmother or the grandfather or the father, eventually would realize something's weird here.
Yeah.
This person, this person isn't part of our family. Eventually it's gonna you can't do it long term. Okay, you get my point.
Yeah, I get it.
That's the same reason why AI cannot beat
Mm,
personality driven relationship building copywriting
that's
over the long
fine.
term.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I actually got this information from a podcast by Australia's best copywriter, Daniel Throssell.
Daniel. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, you're on his list too. So if you heard his podcast, that's exactly what he said. And when I heard that, I was like, I was thinking about these scams because I was always amazed, like, how can you not know that this person is just a 100% stranger? And the only reason it works is because it's a one-time transaction with no relationship and no personality.
Yeah.
Those two words, personality, relationship, long term, AI can't beat that. And that's kind of how I want to dive into the market. Like, I will write personality driven emails that will build relationships with
Mm,
your prospects over the long term, right? Yeah, sure. AI can, write this fabulous informative thing, and it might work, over the short term, right?
yeah.
But in terms of building a relationship
No
that
way.
has personality, it's like the scammer. It's like, hold on a second. You don't know who I am, do you? Because it's just a machine, right? It's just a machine at the end of the day. So those are my thoughts on
Really
the AI thing. Yeah.
interesting. So who would be your ideal client for this?
Yeah. So any type of personality driven business, right? Where the person itself is is the main feature of the business. But I think it could work for any type of business. But yeah, primarily like the market that you're in, right? Coaches, course creators, because like having and even Daniel Throssell said the same thing himself, right? He said there's no way AI is going to be able to write and build the kind of relationship like that I have with
No,
my list, right? So
like ChatGPT copy for me it sucks. Like at some point it got, I mean, it can do things like a promotion, like you're saying, a one-time thing.
right,
But getting to that human to human connection is
right.
impossible, at least right now.
I mean, I find it great for research. Like, for example, like when I'm doing my research, right? Like, I want to collect like real quotes from. Okay, let's say I'm doing a sales page on like people who want to lose weight, right? And in order, and I want to get real quotes from real people from forums about their struggles with losing weight. So before ChatGTP, I would be like I would spend a couple of hours, right? Pulling quotes from all these different forums. But now, if I'm in a rush, I go to ChatGTP and I say, provide real quotes from people from 50-year-old females who are struggling to lose weight. Within 3 minutes, I have like 15 to 20 quotes. And sometimes you have to be careful, right?
Real
I
one?
asked ChatGPT. I asked him. I said, "Are these real quotes?" And then sometimes um, the machine will come back to me and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. As an AI language, blah 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 blah. I actually use an algorithm to kind of give you what I think, based on my research, what I think people would say." And I was like, "No, provide real quotes." And then it would. It'd say, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Here are actual real
All
quotes
right.
I pulled." And then I got like real quotes, research done. So in that sense, yeah, it's I think as copywriters, as marketing professionals, if when we learn how to use it for like research and stuff, it'll definitely like speed up the game, I think, for sure. So
Interesting. I have a, it's kind of a weird question, but I think it's interesting for both of us. Um, like if you think about the Bible,
okay.
like the Catholic Church has been one of the longest like the longest enduring organizations in the world. It's
Mm.
crazy. It's crazy. Like I cannot think of any other institution that has been here longer, or well, at least not a private company or anything like that. What do you think of the Bible in terms of persuasion and copy?
Awesome question. Okay, I'm going to answer that question by asking you a question. Why do you think, from a marketing perspective, why do you think the Bible is the world's number one best-selling book? And keep in mind that even though the Bible is the world's number one best-selling book, I personally believe it's also the number one most misunderstood book, and possibly, I mean, there are parts of the Bible that are just like super boring, right? But still, people revere it, people respect it, people keep the Bible close to their hearts. If you go to pretty much any Western home, especially in the United States, there'll probably be a copy of the King James Bible on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'll answer your question. I'm going to answer your question because I have a firm, strong opinion on this. But why do you feel, from a marketing perspective, the Bible is the world's number one best-selling, and globally, world's number one best-selling book?
I think it's because it speaks about, in terms of very simple to understand, easy to understand stories. So its timeless principles is not something complicated. It's very relatable, something that we can all understand, and it has meaning.
Okay, yeah,
That's
that's a
what I
good
would
answer.
say. Yeah, that's what I would say.
That's a great answer. It's not incorrect. But okay, so I'll answer the question and I'll simplify it. So in the copywriting world, in the marketing world, I'm sure you've heard of the concept of the big idea,
Yeah.
right? Whenever you want to create a promotion or write a sales page, it's the big idea that that hooks people, right? And keeps people reading, even if some parts of the literature are boring. It doesn't matter because the big idea has so captivated the hearts and minds of the reader that they're going to keep reading anyway. So in the Bible's case, the big idea is the one God theory. that there is one creator who created us, mankind, and the Bible is his direct words to us. And the Jewish people are the first people in the history of the world to introduce the big idea of one God who is, in a sense, the father of all mankind. So, from a marketing perspective, I feel like the whole Bible hinges on that one big idea. And so does every successful promotion. For example, like in the dating world, like I was part of uh Chris Haddad's Mr. Moneyfingers group, and I was studying some of his sales letters. And one of the big ideas in his letters is that women want sex as much as men do, right? That's kind of like one of the big ideas that's woven throughout his whole promotion.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of contrary to what I think a lot of guys think, right? Like, the common stereotype is, yeah, like we
Yeah.
guys, like, we want sex 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, blah blah. But applying that idea to females is kind of like contrary, and it kind of like it wakes you up, and it kind of like say, wow, that's interesting. So um anyway, yeah, I feel like I'm getting off track here. But anyway, to answer your question, yeah, I would say the big idea behind the scriptures is what has kept it and will keep it for all eternity at the top of the bestseller list.
But why do you think it is still so powerful today? Like I get that it was a very new concept 2000 years ago, but why does it keep being so powerful today? This big idea.
I think the big that the answer is still valid even in the modern age. Because if you really believe, if you really accept, or even, yeah, if you accept the big idea that the one God who created all of us is true, I think that on a deep level, it's going to draw you towards it. And another, if you want a really good example of great copy, look at the Psalms of David, right? Like your average copywriter will write to the emotions and fleshly desires of people, right?
Yeah.
Your average copy is like speaking to the fleshly desires
Okay.
of
Yes.
people. But the biblical psalmist, he wrote to the very soul of his market, right? He touched the very deep subconscious desires of wanting to belong, wanting to become whole, wanting to have your sins forgiven, wanting to become whole, wanting to become what I'm saying. There's like a
That
huge
makes
difference.
sense.
I feel like I'm preaching here. Like there's a huge difference between like just writing to surface desire and writing to the real subconscious desires.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the biblical writers
Yeah.
really captured that. And if you read the Psalms, well, I'm a believer, obviously. So like, before I go to bed sometimes, if I'm worrying about something, if I have an issue I'm worrying about in my life or whatever, if I read the Psalms of King David, in Hebrew is pronounced David. I read the Psalms because it speaks to my soul. It speaks to the deepest parts of my heart. So I think there's a copywriting lesson there.
For
I mean,
sure.
don't you think so?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy persuasion. What these words, the power that these words hold still today. Or, for example, when you listen to some of the best motivators, speakers are in churches,
There you go.
how they have been able to move masses, and I think it's something that should be studied more. But yeah, I wish there was more information about that, because it's hard
That's
to break it down.
I find that fascinating because one idea that I toyed with is like writing a book about like copywriting lessons from the Bible, but I actually never did it because I don't know. I was like thinking, nobody's going to be interested in that. I mean, unless you're a businessman or unless you're a Christian copywriter
Yeah.
or somebody like in the Christian market, like you wouldn't be interested in it. But instead of manipulation, why not have encouragement and
Yeah.
something that speaks to the soul?
It's really crazy, the transformations, like the personal transformations that people go through with religion. That's insane. Like, I live in Portugal. I recently went to Fatima. Do you know?
No, where is that? It does I forgot. Where
Yeah,
is it?
so Fatima is a city where it is said that Virgin Mary appeared to
Okay.
three pastors.
Okay.
So they have a huge church there, and there is a spot where people go to burn candles, and there are people who walk, not walk, they get there on their knees for kilometers and kilometers. And yeah, there's something like, how do you get to that level of conviction? And that's powerful marketing.
And, and you know what
That's
else is
powerful
similar?
marketing.
Yeah, you know what else is similar? Think of the word conversion, right?
Conversion. Yeah.
You what you just described, what you just described right now, it's a conversion process, right? It's a process of change, right? It's it's a biblical big idea, you know,
Yeah.
to be born again. Like before you were like this person, but if you use our product, you know,
Yeah.
again, positive, I'm being positive. If you use our product, you will undergo transformation and become like this person. That's that's conversion. And the Bible is a master at persuasion and conversion. Well, I'm getting goosebumps, man, just talking about this.
Are you looking for ways to grow your business faster? I have created a free masterclass that explains the 5 levels of exit every entrepreneur must go through. And by the way, selling your company is only one of them. The 8 biggest reasons why businesses get stuck and fail and how to avoid them. And a proven framework to turn your business into an asset so you can achieve faster profits and limitless impact with less stress and overwhelm in the process. If you would like to turn your small or medium-sized business into a valuable, sellable enterprise, this class is definitely for you. Just go to myplantoscale.com to get access now. Now, back to the show. For new copywriters or established ones, whatever, do you have any tips of getting clients? Because like, I read some of the comments on your LinkedIn, and people say you are so good at finding people and approaching them. Any tips on
Honestly,
doing
like
that?
in for beginner, like honestly in the beginning, um I kind of like okay, it's like this is gonna sound funny, but the first copywriter writing job I did was literally for 10 yen, like 10 cents. I was like, I wrote a sales page for a law office. I was like, let me just do this for you for free. Or I wanted to say I was paid for it, right? So look, just pay me 10 cents, okay?
Yeah.
So I can say hey, they paid me, right? And I did my best work, and then they liked it, and I got two things from them. I got a testimonial. I got experience, or three things: testimonial, experience, and they introduced me to another law firm.
Hmm.
I charged them $500
Yeah.
web copy. So think about that. I raised my salary, or not my salary, but my fee from 10 cents to $500 in 1 month.
That's worth it.
Um, yeah, so that's a great strategy, I think, because who's going to refuse? You say, look, I'm a professional copywriter, and I'm trying to get my foot in the door. Listen, I've been trained by the world's best copywriters, and I think I could help you with your marketing. So why don't you let me look? All you have to do is pay me 10 cents, and I'll write your sales page or your web copy for you. And if you like it, all I request is that you give me a testimonial. And if you know anybody else who might be interested in my service, please let me know. It's really that simple. That's kind of how I started. And after that, it was just like one client after another.
Referrals.
Referrals. Pretty much. I mean, because like coaches know other coaches, lawyers know other lawyers, right? Because people tend to move in the same worlds,
Yeah.
right? So if you do a good job for somebody in one industry, chances are that that they know folks, other people like in the same area. So
Amazing. Thanks for sharing
yeah,
that. Uh,
yeah,
so,
yeah. That's a
yeah.
super quick way, I think, to just get. I mean, I think it's kind of a mistake to finish a copywriting course and then your first client you say, I'm going to charge you 10,000. It's I don't think you're going to get the gig, first of all. So yeah, I started like at the bottom, bottom, bottom. So
And yeah, it's very worth it to just, the most important is getting that first client, taking the leap.
yeah, and I think it's really super easy because the strategy that I just shared, you're leading with 100% value, right? No risk, 100% value proposition.
Amazing. Rich, what are your future plans? Anything that you want to share with people, or yeah?
Uh, yeah. So right now, like I'm still kind of like, as I mentioned, I want to kind of develop a service package around the type of copy that AI will never be able to compete against. As I mentioned, personality driven, relationship building, sales copy, specifically email copy in my case, because that's still the best way to build a long-term relationship
Yeah.
with customers. So that's an area that I want to focus on um, right now. And I plan to I still I've created the website, but I still want to I still haven't updated it. So in the very near future, I want to start sharing my thoughts about what I've discovered about copywriting and marketing, and maybe some of the biblical stuff that we talked about today.
Yeah,
Uh,
please do.
yeah, and I want to pump that out via blog articles and stuff. So I'll keep you updated, like when I actually have my website and stuff up and running. Um, yeah, like right now, that's kind of, and for me, it's just it's a labor of love. And to me, it's just it's basically like three things, right? Every day, trying to get a little better at copy. Every day, reaching out to potential clients. And like I said, every day, like having fun, but every day by day, just taking actions to move forward. So
I like that. Yeah, I remember when I got started in copy, my routine was like you were saying, practice copywriting, reaching out to potential clients, and gratitude. The attitude of gratitude.
there we go.
Yeah,
Yep.
those three things were what built my career.
I mean, every morning, for about 15 to 30 minutes, I still hand copy out.
Oh,
Every morning.
that's
That's just
nice.
like
I should do that.
you should. You should,
Curious
by
to
the way.
you. Yeah.
Every morning, just make it a habit, like brushing your teeth, or because I see. I mean, like I know like some of the gurus out there, they're like hand copying ads. It's not effective or whatever. It's
It
better to
is effective.
analyze.
It was for me at
But
least.
I don't know. I find that like when I'm writing, like I can just feel. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones that these 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 persuasion patterns kind of just naturally flowing from my hands because I have this habit of trying to get a little better every day. And I also, of course, I also study ads as well. I mean, I do both, but yeah, hand copying is like, yeah, that's just like something. It's a non-negotiable. Like no matter before the sun sets, at least 15 minutes. It just has to be done. Has to. So
I love that. Where can people find more about you or contact you?
okay, so as I mentioned, my homepage isn't ready yet, so you can just reach out to me on Facebook. Rich Oka, RichOka. You can, I have a business page, and business page isn't so active yet. Yeah, you just reach out to me in Facebook. Or LinkedIn if you want, but I'm not so active there yet because my LinkedIn profile is kind of tailored towards the recruiting business client that I'm working for right now.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Thank you so much, Rich. This
thank
conversation
you.
was
That's great.
amazing. I love it. I love how we start. We talked about everything: Japan, the Bible, Israel, and so many great things. So thank you for sharing all that. If you enjoyed the show, hit the share button and send it over to one fellow marketer or entrepreneur. We work hard to make sure they'll thank you for it. Also, to get featured on the show, go to valuetising.com and apply to become our next guest. Until next time, keep valuetizing.